Hello, this is Charles Jeffries, Professor Charles Jeffries at Seattle Central College, and this is another segment of lifespan development. Okay, and last time we talked about psychoanalytic theory and Freud and his contribution to development. The main thing, like I said before, one of the assumptions of Freud is childhood experiences set you up for who you are as an adult. Okay, people are in constant conflict between what they want to do versus what they have to do versus what they ought to do. Okay, and also children naturally go through these various stages of development. And Freud's stages were called psychosexual development. So now we're talking about Erikson. Erikson stages were called psychosocial. Erikson started out as a teacher, and he was teaching a school in Vienna where he met Anna Freud, which is Sigmund Freud's daughter. And Anna Freud was the one who trained Erikson to be a counselor or psychotherapist. Okay, but think about Erikson in the sense that there's certain things about Erikson's theory that's unique. One of the aspects is that his theory goes across the lifespan from birth throughout old age. Most theories go from birth to adolescence or start of adolescence to late adulthood, but Erikson's theory goes the entire lifespan. So we'll be talking about Erikson the entire quarter. Okay. Also, another thing about Erikson was one of the few people out there who I talk about who actually attempted to deal with culture. I mean, that's one of our biggest criticisms of psychology, even in the present. That psychology has never really incorporated culture into its theoretical framework. Yeah, there's cross-cultural psychology, but that cross-cultural psychology is from a Western perspective. So it's really cross-cultural. Now, we'll look at that later on to a certain extent. But Erikson, he spent time on the Indian reservations, 2 Indian reservations, Yuroks were in California. He also spent time on the Sioux reservation. He also co-authored a book with Huey P. Newton, who was the founder of the Black Panther Party. And so Erikson's theory was very broad in that sense. And that's one of the things I like about here. 2 things I like about Erikson's theories. One is that he does attempt to deal with culture. And another aspect of his theory goes across the lifespan from birth throughout old age. So let's look at his theories. First year of life, trust versus mistrust. Trust versus first year of life. I mean, think about it. The first year of life. The only main person the individual deals with the first year of life is the mom. And nowadays, a lot of dads are also involved with that primary caregiver. And think about it. If you can't trust your mother, who can you trust? Okay, well, basic trust, that's the main thing being established. And once again, it's balance just in life. Too much, you trust people too much, you can get messed over. You don't trust people enough, you'll never have a healthy relationship to a certain extent, because trust is the basis for any long-term, stable, healthy relationship. But basic trust, that first year of life, trust versus mistrust. Second year of life, autonomy versus doubt. I mean, think about it. The child, according to Erikson, literally learning how to walk around at 12 months. Okay, the 12 months old, they get that, and that'll be their second 12, 13, 14 to 24 months. That'll be the second year of life. But think about autonomy versus doubt. Okay, autonomy, being out there independent, literally standing on your own 2 feet, getting around, versus doubt, and I guess shame and doubt. Okay, in terms of what I'm not so sure I can do that. Okay, once again, this balance comes in to a certain extent. Children need they'll develop a certain amount of independence, autonomy. But at that particular age, too much autonomy, they can get hurt. I mean, think about when they're starting to walk. That's when you start child-proofing things. I mean, because a lot of times they can swallow things or crawl off the edge or something, to fall, a serious fall. You put those gates up at the steps. Okay, that's one that kind of contains. But then that balance comes in. In other words, too much autonomy, the child can get hurt. The child never develops a sense of autonomy. We'll talk about later on, when we talk about early childhood, the helicopter mom. In other words, the mom who never lets a child alone, makes all the child's decisions, so the child doesn't develop that sense of autonomy. Okay, so that's where the balance. So too much autonomy, a child can get hurt or even and harmed in some way. Not enough in terms of not enough or enough shame and doubt, the child will never develop a sense of independence. Okay, so you have an individual who moves out of dad's house into husband's house without any type of time to deal with self to a certain extent. Okay, from 3 to 6, your third stage will be autonomy, or third stage will be from 3 to 6 years old, initiative versus guilt. Initiative, getting out there, interacting activities, doing things versus guilt, sitting back and not doing it. And you see it on the playground, and you go to kindergarten, preschool. You see it on the playground. Some kids are just social butterflies. They're out there interacting every day, playing. And other kids, they play off to themselves. They're off to themselves. Nobody really interacts with them. Nobody messes with them. They get off there in the corner. Okay, initiative versus guilt, getting out there, doing things. Once again, there comes a balance. Initiative, kid with too much initiative. Imagine a 4-year-old cussing and talking back to their parents and saying inappropriate things. That would be too much initiative, you know. And there's this guilt where a kid just doesn't do it. He sits back and doesn't do anything and is super passive. Okay, so that's where the kind of balance comes in. Okay, then 7 to 11, industry versus inferiority. Feeling good about yourself or feeling bad about yourself. Elementary school. Think about elementary school. That's when they start sorting people out according to perceived abilities. You have the brilliant kids and the bright kids and above average kids and the average kids and the below average kids. And you have the, quote, dummies. Okay, special ed and ESL. Not necessarily how I believe that way, but that's the way they sort them out. Okay, so children usually during elementary school, they learn what they're good at and what they're not good. So in terms of initiative, in terms of initiative and guilt, they kind of turns it, goes back, and they progress into industry versus inferior. Self-esteem. I'm sure you heard the phrase self-esteem, low self-esteem. I'm sure you heard the phrase inferiority complex. Okay, all these kind of tie-in may develop during this time period. I remember a comedian one time saying that he never knew his name until he went to school. And when he called his name, he didn't recognize it, so he didn't answer. And all the kids teasing about that. Think about that growing up. And your parents never call you, but hey, numbnuts, hey, stupid, hey, boy, hey, you. And so we went to school, didn't recognize, he never heard him call his name before. But think about self-esteem, feeling good about yourself versus feeling bad about yourself. And once again, it comes to balance. Okay, too much. Someone feels too good about themselves where they feel they're super more important than everybody. So possibly the narcissistic personality issues come up, or the point to where the person low self-esteem, where they don't like themselves at all to a certain extent. But that's what comes out. And like I said before, children tend to seek activities that they enjoy doing and avoid activities that they're not very good at to a certain extent. Then comes adolescence. Okay, identity versus role confusion. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? I mean, it drives teenagers nuts because they don't really know who they are. That's what, according to Erikson, that's the issue that's going on during adolescence. Okay, they're trying to figure out who they are. Okay, you see, like use about middle school, you start seeing them develop the little cliques. You know, your skaters and your skaters and your jocks and your nerds. You go to the cafeteria, in the lunchroom. You see the football players. They have their table. The nerds have their area. The brothers are over there by the water fountain. The essays are out there by the front door, and people starting to develop their sense of identity. So that's the main issue according to Erikson, trying to figure out who they are. Early adulthood, 20 to 40. Intimacy versus isolation. Do you want to share your life with another individual, or do you want to live alone? Okay, and according to Erikson, during the early adulthood, that's when he worked that out. I mean, there's a difference between being alone and lonely. You can be alone and be okay with it. I know people who are married in relationships and are lonely. But once again, in terms of, do you want to share your life with another individual, or do you want to live alone? That at some point that gets worked out. I mean, think of all the movies you see. A lot of your movies. A girl meets guy. They have an adventure. They go off in the sunset. Supposedly live happily ever after. Okay, and so you have all these dating programs. You have dating websites. Equally yoked. What is it? Some adventures, all these basically center around Erikson stages of intimacy versus isolation. Middle adulthood, 40 to 60. Generativity versus stagnation. Okay, do you want to grow and do new things and make the world a better place for you, or do you want to just live your life in a rut? And doesn't really matter what happens in the future. You know, I'm going to build my house and destroy the environment because after I'm dead, it doesn't matter anyway. Okay, so that's where the balance comes in. Too much, not enough. I mean, too much generative. Too many people always change and doing things. Just kind of being a flake. At the same time, never doing any changes or no growth, and then that becomes living a rut. Okay, to a certain extent. But once again, the balance in terms of you think about that generative, you're going to do things that help next generation, or you're going to make grow and take classes and continue to learn, or you just live your life in a rut. Last stage has to do with late adult integrity versus despair. The song came out. Frank Sinatra sang it, and also Bill Withers. When I was 17, it was a very good year. They basically an older man looking back on his life and talking about all the significant events that he enjoyed. Okay, so looking back on your life, growing old and bitter versus old and mellow. In other words, looking back on your life, saying, man, I did this and did that. I made a few mistakes, but I'm okay with it. I feel pretty good about myself. Or looking back on your life, say, oh man, I should have done this. I couldn't have done this. Hadn't married you. I could have done something successful. Okay, so once again, growing old and bitter. So those are Erikson stages. Okay, next we'll talk about psychoanalytic approach and do a mini critique of Erikson's theory. The main issue with Erikson is the same thing I have about Freud. No empirical evidence. No research, not research-based. It's anecdotal evidence, okay? And anyway, that concludes Erikson. Like I said before, 10 minutes doesn't really do Erikson's theory justice. I suggest you do further reading on him, and we'll talk about him throughout the quarter. Thank you very much.